Haunted Camps 5. True stories of haunted campsites. Welcome to Haunted Camps, where the tent walls are thin and the dark is deeper than it seems. Campfires are meant to keep fear at bay, but what if they only light the way for something else to find you? From whispers in the woods to footsteps circling your tent at 3 a.m., these are the stories that begin with laughter and end in silence. Because in the wild, no one knows what's watching just beyond the tree line. Story 1. The Splashing Footsteps. Bidoup Forest, Vietnam. They say the jungle never truly sleeps, that even when everything falls silent, something still listens. In the central highlands of Vietnam lies the Bidoup Nui Ba National Park, a pristine wilderness of towering pines, moss-covered stones, and trails that twist like veins beneath the canopy. But the locals speak of places you must not sleep near, and rivers you must never bathe in after sunset. Because in Bidoup, water isn't always just water, and sometimes footsteps echo in places where no one should be walking. In 2019, a university group from Saigon went on a 3-day field research trip into the heart of Bidoup. There were 6 of them: 4 students, 1 young lecturer, and a guide from the nearby Caho village. They were there to document rare orchids, but by the second night, all they could talk about was what they heard. It began with the stream. Their tent was set near a shallow brook, gentle and quiet, barely enough to soak your boots. At 2 a.m., one of the students, Lynn, was jolted awake. Not by an animal, not by a dream, but by a sound she couldn't explain. Splash, splash, splash. Footsteps, wading slowly through water. She sat up, eyes wide, ears straining. More splashes. Steady, deliberate, like someone pacing back and forth in the stream, barefoot. She looked over. Everyone else was asleep. The guide's hammock was empty, but that was normal. He always kept watch from a distance. She unzipped the tent and peeked outside. No flashlight, no wind, but she heard it, clear as day. Splash, pause, splash, pause, like someone waiting, watching. She whispered, "Ida." No answer. The splashing stopped. The next morning, Lynn told the group what she heard. They brushed it off as a dream. But when they asked the guide, he went silent. Then, softly, he said, "That stream only runs at night. During the day, it disappears." No one believed him, until they walked back down to it after breakfast and found only dry stones, no water, no mud, not a single drop. That night, the group insisted on camping further from the stream. But Lynn couldn't sleep. She kept checking her watch. Midnight, 1 a.m. At 2:03 a.m., it began again. Faint, but closer this time. Splash, splash, splash. But the stream was far behind them now. The sound was coming from the slope beside their tent, like someone walking uphill, through water that shouldn't be there. The lecturer, now awake, tried to record the sound on his phone. But the screen froze. Battery dropped to 1%. The other students' phones wouldn't turn on at all. Only Lynn's phone worked. She recorded 30 seconds of the sound. Bare splashes, then a soft, raspy breathing just beyond the canvas. When she played it back the next morning, all she heard was her own voice, repeating something she didn't remember saying. Toi van dang loi, toi chua tung dung lai. I'm still walking. I never stopped. The guide refused to take them deeper into the forest. He said a name none of them understood, Yang, and insisted they leave before sunset. They hiked back in silence. The group tried to rationalize it. Wind, echoes, half-sleep hallucinations. But when Lynn got home, something was wrong. Her phone refused to delete the audio file. She wiped the device. Factory reset. New SIM card. But every night at exactly 2:03 a.m., the phone turned on by itself and played the recording. And in the background, just barely audible now, a second voice joined hers. Deeper. Wetter. Walking alongside. Lynn moved to a new apartment, switched phones, but the sound followed. Different speakers. Different nights. Same time. 2:03 a.m. Splash. 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 Sometimes, she dreams she's in the forest again, walking barefoot, through a stream that doesn't exist. And in her dream, she hears her own voice whisper, "We're still walking. We never stopped." Bidoup Forest is beautiful, ancient, sacred, but locals will tell you there are paths that don't dry, streams that appear only to those who are being called, and if you ever wake up at 2:03 a.m. to the sound of footsteps in shallow water, don't open the tent, don't look out the window, and above all, don't answer, because whatever's walking is still looking for someone to walk with. Story 2. The Girl in the Red Jacket. Campfire, Ghost of Dalat, Vietnam. Dalat is known for its mist, its pine forests, and its eternal spring. But when the fog thickens and the firewood crackles under starlight, the locals grow quiet. Because deep in the woods, near the old campsites, people whisper about a girl. She doesn't speak. She doesn't blink. She just watches the fire, in a red jacket, far too thin for the cold. And if she ever asks to sit by your campfire, you must never say yes. In 2016, a group of university students from Ho Chi Minh City went camping on the outskirts of Dalat, near the base of Lang Biang Mountain. They were 6 in total, friends looking to escape city life, toast marshmallows, tell ghost stories, and share laughter under the pines. The first night was uneventful. Cool breeze, warm drinks, harmless dares. But on the second night, something changed. At 2:20 a.m., as the fire dimmed to orange embers, they heard footsteps. Crunch, crunch, soft, hesitant. Then a voice, young, almost fragile, called out from the trees. "Can I warm myself?" They turned. Standing just beyond the firelight was a girl, maybe 18 or 19, wearing a red jacket. Her black hair fell straight, wet as if from fog or tears. She didn't look like a hiker. She had no backpack, no flashlight, no shoes. Just the red jacket and wide, blank eyes. The group fell silent. One of them, Min, stood and asked, "Are you lost?" She didn't answer. She only stared at the fire. The others whispered, unsure of what to do. But another student, Thu, gestured politely. "Come sit if you're cold." The girl took one step forward, and the fire died. Not slowly, not from lack of wood. It just vanished. In total darkness, the girl was suddenly right beside them. No sound, no movement, just there. Someone screamed. They turned on their phones' flashlights, but the girl was gone. The next morning, the group laughed nervously, blamed it on beer, exhaustion, or maybe some weird hiker prank. But Thu, she didn't speak. She sat apart, pale, shivering, and by noon, she had a fever. That night, The group decided to sleep without a fire. No stories, just rest. But at 2:20 a.m., someone's phone began to ring. No caller ID. When Min answered, all he heard was the crackle of fire. Then a soft voice. "It's warmer now." He dropped the phone. In the distance, between the trees, a red dot flickered. Then another, and another. They weren't lights. They were eyes, reflecting from something crouched low, watching them. They packed up that night, left before sunrise. Back in the city, Thu's fever worsened. She claimed she couldn't feel her hands anymore. Said they were still frozen from that night. Doctors found no infection, no cause. She passed away in her sleep 4 days later. Her body was cold, too cold for Dalat, as if she'd been out in the woods for hours, even though she'd never left her bed. And at the funeral, Min swore he saw a red-jacketed figure standing beneath a pine tree just beyond the cemetery gates. Local legend says she was a hiker, one who got lost years ago during a sudden fog. She tried to build a fire to stay warm. It never lit. She died before morning. Now she searches for other fires, other warmth, other people who will say, "Yes, come sit." But once you invite her in, she never truly leaves. Some say her spirit is bound by cold. Others believe she's jealous, of warmth, of laughter, of people who still feel their own heartbeat. Either way, if you ever go camping in Dalat, and at 2:20 a.m., you hear soft footsteps and a voice whisper, "Can I warm myself?" Don't look, don't speak, and whatever you do, don't let her near the fire, because once she sits down, you may never get back up. Part 3. Footprints in the Snow. The Siberian Camp. Mystery. In the heart of Siberia, winter is not just a season, it's a presence. The wind howls like a voice lost in time. The trees crack like bones beneath ancient weight. And out there, past the last road, past the last tower, people disappear. But in 1997, one group didn't vanish. They came back, only to speak of something that should never have followed them home. It was a remote research camp, 6 scientists studying atmospheric patterns in the Yakutia region of Russia, the coldest inhabited place on Earth. Temperatures could drop below 50 degrees Celsius. The sun barely rose, but they were prepared. Generators, satellite phone, food for weeks, and a daily routine to stay sane. Until day 9, when the footprints appeared. They found them early one morning, 3 sets of prints, walking toward the camp from the north. No snowmobiles, no sled dogs, just bare human feet. Each print was sharp, deep, unmistakable. But they stopped 20 meters from the tents, and there were no prints going back. Dr. Pavel, the expedition lead, suggested it was a prank, maybe a hunter playing tricks, but the nearest village was over 100 kilometers away. And no one would walk barefoot in that snow, not in those temperatures, not and live. Still, they laughed it off, covered the tracks, got back to work, until that night, when someone knocked on the tent flap. It was 2:43 a.m. 3 of them heard it. Slow, calm. One knock, then another, then silence. They unzipped the tent. No one there. No tracks, just frozen snow, untouched. They didn't sleep much after that. The next morning, the prints were back, but this time, they circled the tents. Still barefoot, still deep. One of the scientists, Anya, took photos, measured the stride length, The prints were spaced wide, as if the walker was moving unnaturally fast, or running. But again, no prints led away. On day 11, one of them, Lev, vanished. His coat, boots, and gloves were left inside the tent. The zipper was closed from the outside. They searched for hours, found nothing. No sign of struggle, no blood. But behind the camp, leading toward the frozen tree line, a fourth set of footprints, bare, deep, heading away. And this time, they didn't stop. They radioed for emergency extraction. A helicopter was sent, but a storm forced it back. They were trapped for 48 more hours. During that time, Anya began acting strange. She refused to sleep, kept muttering, "He's still out there, but not as Lev, not anymore." She claimed she saw him just beyond the trees, standing barefoot, smiling, and behind him, in the snow. More footprints, too many to count, all pointing toward the camp. They finally got airlifted out. Only 5 returned. Lev was declared missing, presumed dead. But Anya, she never recovered. She refused to enter warm rooms, slept on the floor with no blanket, and one night in 2003, she vanished from a psychiatric hospital. She left no note, no trail, just a single photo taped to her window, a snowy clearing, no figures, no trees, just hundreds of bare footprints leading in every direction. Experts reviewed the camp photos. Theories spread. Hallucinations, group psychosis, hoax, ice expansion mimicking foot patterns. But none of them could explain the consistent depth, the human stride. Or why no animal, not even wolves, approached the camp after that. In Yakutia, the locals have a word. Te kto idut bosikom, the ones who walk barefoot. They say they're not ghosts, not demons, just those left behind too long in the snow, who forgot what warmth feels like, and now want someone to remember them, someone to walk with them again. So if you ever find yourself deep in the snow, where no one else should be, and you see bare human footprints appear, one after the other, leading toward your camp, don't follow, don't answer, don't open the flap, because what's outside isn't lost. It knows exactly where you are, and it's been walking for a long, long time. Story 4. The Tent That Moved, New Zealand, 2014. In the wild backcountry of New Zealand's South Island, hikers speak of something strange. Not ghosts, not monsters, just a feeling, deep in the valleys, far from signal or shelter, that something is watching, that something moves with you. And for one man, that something didn't just follow. It moved his entire tent while he was still inside. In 2014, an experienced solo backpacker named Caleb Morris set out to complete the Restart Track, a remote alpine circuit north of Queenstown. It was early spring, still snow in the peaks, still silence in the valleys. Caleb was used to isolation, but this trip would be different. Because on the third night, deep in the forest below Mount Earnslaw, his tent relocated itself. He'd pitched it near a stream, just off the trail. No wind, no rain, perfectly staked. He boiled tea, journaled, and fell asleep around 10 p.m. At exactly 2:17 a.m., he woke up with a strange sensation. Movement. At first, he thought it was an earthquake, but nothing shook. No tremor, no rumble. Instead, it felt like the tent was gliding, smooth, silent, forward, as if someone was pulling it, Carefully, gently, he unzipped the window flap. Black trees. Stillness. Then, a sharp sound behind him. Thud. Drag. Thud. Drag. Like something dragging its feet in a wide circle. He shouted. No response. He burst out of the tent with his flashlight. But the tent, still fully staked, was now 10 meters from where he'd set it. And there were no footprints, no drag marks, just flat earth. The next morning, he tried to rationalize it. Loose stakes, shifting earth, sleepwalking. But his GPS confirmed what he already knew. He had moved. Not the ground. The tent's location had shifted by exactly 11.3 meters northeast. Not random. Deliberate. That night, he set up camp again. This time, he placed stones around the base, tied the frame to trees, and even set a small trap wire using a bell. He fell asleep with a knife under his pillow. At 2:17 a.m., again, he woke. No noise, no motion, just weight. Something heavy pressed against one side of the tent wall. Slowly, firmly. Then came the dragging again. Not outside. Underneath. As if the entire forest floor was being pulled like a rug. The bell rang. Once. Then silence. When Caleb unzipped the flap, his flashlight revealed a horrifying sight. The trees around his tent were now in a different configuration. What was once his front door now faced the opposite direction. And in the soft earth just beyond the tree line, a perfect circle had been drawn into the ground, wide enough to contain the entire tent. Too perfect for an animal, too large for a man. He fled at first light, ran 6 hours straight to the nearest ranger hut. They found him pale, dehydrated, mumbling something over and over. The tent moved. I didn't move it. It's choosing where I wake up. Back in town, he uploaded a trail cam photo he'd set up facing the tent. Only one frame remained. A blurry image at 2:16 a.m., mist rising. Something tall, not animal, not man, half visible. And behind it, his tent, hovering 2 inches above the ground. Experts dismissed it as stress, altitude fatigue, even carbon monoxide from his camp stove. But Maori elders near Glenorchy had a different explanation. They spoke of ancient spirits, Nya Hairenga Kore, the wanderers without paths. Not evil, not good, just lost things, things that don't want to be alone anymore. They saw it. If they like you, they'll follow. But if they choose you, they'll start deciding where you sleep. Today, hikers still visit that valley. Some leave offerings. Others mark their tent spots with charcoal or iron nails. But no one stays after 2 a.m., and no one sleeps if the wind is too still. Because if you ever wake up and your tent has moved, and the trail behind you is gone, and your compass spins in place, it's already too late. You've been chosen. And now, you walk where they want you to walk. Story 5. The Whisperer in the Tent. Colorado, USA. Mountains don't echo like forests. They trap sound. Hold it in. So when you hear something in the dark, it might not be coming from outside. It might already be in the tent. In 2008, a solo backpacker named Eric Malone, 31, set out to complete a week-long hike through the San Juan Mountains in southern Colorado. It was late October, already cold, already quiet. He was experienced, well-equipped, and looking forward to solitude. But what followed him into those woods was something older than fear. and quieter than death. He made it to his third campsite, a clearing near a frozen alpine lake, surrounded by thick pine and deep snow. He built a fire, boiled water, read by headlamp, and around 11 o'clock p.m., he zipped up his tent and went to sleep. The silence was absolute until 3:14 a.m., when Eric heard whispers, faint, dry, just outside the tent wall. He froze. It wasn't wind. It wasn't animals. It was a voice, too low to understand, like someone whispering a prayer in reverse. Back again, not yours. Keep sleeping. Keep sleeping. He grabbed his flashlight and shouted, "Who's there?" No answer. He unzipped the tent, heart racing. No one. The snow around the tent was untouched. No prints, no trails. Just him. And that awful silence. He thought maybe it was a dream, or that the cold was messing with his head. The next night, he pitched camp further down the mountain, closer to the trailhead. Safer. But again, at exactly 3:14 a.m., the whispering returned. Closer now. This time, it came from inside the tent, right by his ear. "You left it open, so I came in." Eric screamed, turned on the flashlight. Empty. He checked the tent. No holes, no tears. But something was wrong. His journal, zipped in his backpack, was now open beside his pillow. A single line written in it. Not his handwriting. "Thank you for letting me in." He left the trail the next morning, didn't even pack his gear, just ran. Told the rangers he'd heard voices, that someone had followed him. They searched, found no one. But his campsite was exactly where he said, and inside the abandoned tent, a second sleeping bag had been unrolled, laid out, neatly zipped, as if waiting for someone else. Weeks later, back home in Denver, Eric started sleeping in his closet. Lights on, phone recording. He tried therapy, medication. Nothing helped. Because no matter where he was, at 3:14 a.m., he'd wake to the sound of whispering, even in his apartment, even with the windows locked. Still warm, still safe. Don't look. Once he looked, saw nothing. But on his voice recorder from that night, the audio picked up something chilling. Two voices, one whispering, and one sobbing. Eric disappeared the following spring. No forced entry, no signs of a struggle. Just an empty bed, an open window, and both sleeping bags gone from his closet. Some hikers believe in mountain spirits. Others speak of the murmur, a presence that slips into your tent if you stay too long between the trees. But the old locals say this: at 3:14, if you hear a whisper, ignore it. Don't respond. Don't move. Because once you hear it, it hears you. And if you leave a space beside you in the tent, something might decide to fill it. Conclusion. What makes camping so vulnerable to the supernatural? Scientifically, isolation, lack of sleep, and primal fear in wilderness environments can cause heightened senses, making shadows seem alive and sounds feel personal. But spiritually, forests and untouched lands are believed to be older than belief itself, home to spirits, guardians, and echoes of the past. Disrespect the land, and it might respond, not with words, but with presence. So next time you unzip your tent at midnight and hear breathing that isn't yours, don't ask who's there. Just hope they don't come closer. Because once the forest notices you, it never forgets. The world is not always what it seems. If you're ready to keep peeling back the shadows, like, share, and subscribe this video. The truth is just beginning to unfold.